just said, then you can sum up in your head, the things that are going around my own head. This new love for Chinese, this and that and that and this. I'm in the Christmas mood now. Let me translate from Omalenyi. It will have a back. But anyway, have a back. But this Christmas period, so it says current debt rate is worrisome and borrowing pace not sustainable. This is Professor Teller of the Olabisi Onabanjo University. An economist says that instead of borrowing, go after wealthy Nigerians who owe the country instead of borrowing. Not only those who owe the country, go after those who have stolen the country's money. It's amazing that we're still running after some Abacha loot almost 20-something years after we heard what was ascribed to Desani the other day. And we have loads of that. Then, of course, we have those who are owing internally. Like a gentleman who built a big church and auditorium and is now owing a bank, took, I think, 21 billion or there. But you need to go after all these people. See, the truth is, as I sing, as if I'm... the truth is, if you go through the backsides of a lot of our elites, nothing. Nothing. They have bled this country blind. They have bled... I am looking forward to a CBN director, or what's the name of this other agency?
What's that?
Yeah, what's the agency that goes after bank debts? What's it called now?
AMCON.
I'm looking forward to a very revolutionary AMCON MD and CBN MD who will come out and tell us who is owing what. You will weep. You will weep. All the big boys. If I handle Nigeria, this is what I would do. You went and borrowed 21 billion from a bank. You can't pay back.
I've heard it's a huge racket. Used to be. I don't know if it still is. Where bank executives,
you don't want to hear it.
I thought
you don't want. You don't want. I know people. I know top people in this country who live in Ikoyi. They have no factory. All they do is they have what you call investments, and the investment is move into a company, use your influence to get a loan, break the loan, and move on to the next whatever. It's been happening for a long time. Those of us who know, we don't respect a lot of people that you guys jump around with and say, oh, he's a successful man. He's going to tell his story at some symposium. I look at some of the younger people and I laugh at them. Unless we do that, and unless you young people put us under pressure, we'll be playing dominoes and what with you. We will hold the water and hold the stars. You'll be playing around with the squares and the circles. And so an economist says the rising debt profile raises sustainability concerns. Mogalu is worried. Mogalu, he should know. He used to be in the CBN and so on, former deputy governor. And he says that the federal government has been borrowing irresponsibly, while the executive director of Center for Anti-Corruption Open Leadership, Debo Adeniro, says that the FG is becoming reckless in borrowing. We can't be... Look, we can't be going through all this suffering and some people are living off the proceeds of corrupt practices. The corrupt practices are not just those who whack from the cookie jar. There are those who leave the cookie jar alone and go to the extension of the cookie jar and go there and do all kinds of things. All these things affect us. But we sit back and look, we honor them. I challenge a lot of our elites to come and write a 21-page statement and tell us the origins of their wealth and where they get the money they're spending. Now you'll be shocked and you'll be amazed. Well, let's get down this Christmas period. Let's get down something.
Yeah, let's get down. Maybe this is not that sweet. Invading church to arrest Okorocha's son-in-law unacceptable. Anglican. That's still from the Punch.
What has happened to my country? Sheriff, do you know that during war, if there's a war going on, there are some sacred places that are not bombed?
That's right.
Do you know that during the Iraqi war, there were some places that were marked, either historical cases or churches, mosques, and so on, that were not bombed? During a war, if you run into a church, you have a mosque, a hospital.
Yeah, a hospital,
We have thrown all kinds of decorum to the wind. This man was attending a memorial service, I think for his mother-in-law or so, for some whatever. and the Nigerian police, as presently constituted, most likely instigated by the state government, went into the church premises, were shooting to pick this guy up. The next time I saw a photograph of him, he was wearing what you would call his singlet. Singlet.
Singlet.
And you see the lesson in all this. This is an aside.
And that was a former governorship aspirant, by the way.
That's not the story. It's not the story. The story is that he's the former son-in-law to the governor.
Yeah, the son-in-law to the former governor.
Son-in-law to the former governor. So there's a lesson to be learned there as an aside, that the son today could be the villain tomorrow. I'm sure you get my analogy. That's why it's good for you not to overexpose your younger people, because there might be judgment there ahead. But that's another story for another day. Benny.
Oh deep.
But back to this one. We have become animals. Nigeria has become a country of animals in human skin. Do you know what?
What's that?
This guy was freed later, same day. So the question is, what was his offense? What was so important that you couldn't wait to arrest him?
Or you couldn't even wait to invite him?
Well, they kept saying they invited him, he didn't come, but you know where he lives. You could always trail him.
Yeah.
You could always trail him. I mean, hey, come on. You could always trail him. But it was done, if you go and find out politically, it was done deliberately. Supposedly to humiliate him. But now, you've turned him into the underdog and sympathies are with him. The Nigerian police should be ashamed of themselves. The Inspector General, if I were him, I would resign over this. I would resign. If I don't resign, but before I resign, I would have fired everybody up to the zonal level. What kind of a police is this? Listen, and what kind of a people are we? You know, there's a story making the rounds now of one elite who was thrown out of Ikoyi Club because of this issue of police escort. And he wrote in a written statement by a lawyer, he wrote an unprintable word. I can't even mention that word. In a written statement is there. That's not because he said somebody wanted to take his photograph. But what I found funny, and I shook my head, said, the Inspector General found it fit to give me an oddly because there's a tendency that I might be kidnapped. Who cannot be kidnapped? And the Inspector General giving me, if there's anybody who could be kidnapped, I'm one of them. But it shows you the kind of country we're living in. Throughout the holiday, it was escorts everywhere, every Tom, Dick, and Harry escort. The thing now to do is, as you're buying your Rolls Royce or whatever, you buy a pickup to go along with it.
You put one siren on.
Well, yes. You go and buy it from the shop where they sell it to only those who work in the airport. Then you put the probe lights and so on. What kind of imbeciles are we? What kind of human beings are we? We are just like animals in human skin. You go arrest somebody during the church service. I saw the video. I heard gunshots. Who was shooting who? Who was shooting who? If this is the kind of legacy that Buhari wants to leave when he goes in 2023, it will be very sad, because the bulk of this also stops on his table. He has to put his Inspector General under control. But what do you have? Go outside Lagos, it's even worse. Everybody has a platoon. You find a man being guarded by 4 soldiers, 4 police, 4 this, 4 that. Everything has just gone completely haywire. The police is now up to the highest bidder. It is a shame. It is a shame. But the most embarrassing one is when I saw the guy's photograph. Singlet low water.
Singlet.
Did they tear his clothes or he took it off?
I wouldn't know. Maybe it's just to humiliate him, like you said earlier.
And this boy was a young chap. He married Okorocha's daughter. Well, he enjoyed the beginning. This is the middle.
Okorocha was going to let him succeed him.
Yes, but it didn't work. You see, that is why, again, when you see, don't overexpose your children or whatever too early in life without letting them have experience. That's what you get. That's what you get. And the influence I'm making, he understands. That's why I was so worked up. When somebody close to me did it to his own children. There's always a day when you will regret that you did all this. But that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
For those who can talk to them in government, this is most shameful. And I am very, very glad that the Anglican Church stood up to say that it's completely unacceptable. The part I don't understand is in one of the reports it says Khan apologized to the Anglican Church, and I'm wondering on whose behalf. And in Khan's statement, they were making things like, oh, we understand the government has to maintain security. What security did Nwosu breach? Somebody should come and tell me. Apart from the fact of suspecting him that maybe he has some things from the cookie jar that he can't explain, fair enough, or there's some political wrangling. What is he, an armed robber? What is he? And then you now released him the same day. You released him the same day. So if he was that much of a threat, why did you have to go through all that drama?
Indeed. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube. You can watch Nigeria Info 99.3 on the super platforms. Let's see what we have here. A message says anybody can be arrested anywhere and at any time if he violates the law. That's Oladipo.
No.
Who sent that in?
No. There are rules that govern living. Don't let's believe that democracy means you can do as you wish. And there are rules that govern these things. If let's even say he's a fugitive. Let's say he's the leader of Boko Haram and you had to arrest him. What you first of all do is you call the attention of the Archbishop and leader of the church.
That's what I heard too. Yeah.
You would have surrounded the place and say, look, there's a fugitive in there. We have to pick him up. We'll wait patiently till the end of the service. Our people have surrounded this environment. He can't get anywhere, but we thought we should put you on notice. You don't go in Gestapo. The person who made that comment has a warped thinking of democracy. And a lot of people think like that out there. It's not a free-for-all. For God's sake, there are written and unwritten rules of decency. How can you say anybody can be arrested anywhere at any time? It doesn't work that way. And we need to disabuse our minds from that. Nobody's above the law, yes. You could have waited patiently as it was. I mean, you can tell him. You can tell him and cross him on the way. You can follow him to his next destination, whether it is going to be his girlfriend's house new or his own house or even his father-in-law's house. You can then effect the arrest there. And you can watch where he sleeps and go first thing in the morning and put him under arrest. You don't have to. This is a desecration. It is a desecration. And if you don't know, you'd better know now. Worldwide now, we are going to be looked at as, to put it bluntly, animals in human skin. Invade a church to arrest somebody that you then release 2 hours later.
Let's go to the Vanguard. 20 weeks after, no sit at home in Southeast.
We thank God for that. Let me quickly go through that. In Abia, there was traffic. In Imo, there was vehicular movement. In Anambra, Oka and the environs, like every normal day, is a beehive of activities. In Ebonyi, the same thing. In Enugu, the same thing. The happiest part of it all, we are happy over return business activities. I think return of business activities. It says, reacting to the return of activities in the Southeast, IPOB said that it is happy that people have decided to shun the intimidation by hoodlums who have been criminally enforcing a suspended Monday weekly sit at home. So we are glad that life has gradually returned, and IPOB are also happy.
Yeah.
So that's a happy ending at the end of the year, and we hope it will continue into the new year. IPOB need to brush up their strategies.
Indeed. This story says Tony Nimelu P Square at all lights of Christmas.
Yes, this story here has a full page. There was a big party in Tony Elumelu's house. You know, the pictures are there. All the artists are there. Davido, Wizkid, Burna Boy, all of them are there. A large crowd in the background. But Mr. Lumelu, I'm sure you've seen what Atedo Peterside is doing, encouraging people to follow protocols on COVID. It is ravaging the whole world. You're an exposed person, sir. You're a very, very exposed person, and we would appreciate if you set examples to those who follow you. Look at these photographs here. It's excitement and enjoyment galore. And we have a COVID threat worldwide. I would like you to put a call through to Mr. Atedo Peterside. I'm sorry.
Who is that?
Atedo Peterside.
Okay.
He was invited to certain functions. He publicly said he can't go because of COVID. Because the truth is, you know, some people, Elomelu has a large following of young people. We're trying to get people to restrain themselves from gathering and whatever in COVID. We can't enforce it for only God knows why. But yes, it's your money. You have the right to do whatever you like with it and so on and so forth. But you are a role model. And in the new year, we're going to be calling out people, because we need to change this society of ours. We need to change this country. So, Mr. Lumelo, with due apologies, I'm sorry I have to call you out on this, but your PR handlers should have advised you not to do something like this at this point in time. That is where I stand on that. And look, and I'm like, again, I've been impressed twice. Atedo Peterside has had to come out in the forefront, to drive this awareness of COVID and why people should prevent this. And I expect Tony Olumelu to do the same. It would be nice to have an apology from him and to join the drive. Well, you see, yesterday the beaches were full. The beaches here, Onuru Beach, were all packed full of people. I didn't go there. I live in the neighborhood, so I was able to see traffic going in and going out. Indeed, one of the testing facilities, after to say it bluntly, SynLab, the SynLab facility for testing, after they had closed for the day, the security people opened the car park. This is a testing area. Open the car park, we task everybody inside. I called the SynLab management this morning to report to them. We can't continue to have these kind of things. Whether you believe in it or not, whether you believe in vaccination, COVID is on a rampage.
That's right. It is. It is. Some countries
it's on a rampage.
Some countries are even planning to go back to the former protocol of working from home. I think
Scotland,
shutdowns.
Scotland, and
I think France,
Germany. Some of them are practically on lockdown, and I'm sure for every 10 people about 4 or 5 now will have COVID.
Maybe more.
We are just in denial.
Maybe more.
Someone
told me that Lagos is filled with walking Omicrons.
The isolation centers are filling up. And that's why I'm so sorry again, Mr. Lumelo, that I had to do this. I respect you so much. But it is a desperate situation.
It is.
And what we expect of our visible people is, please, let's set the right examples, okay? Let's set the right examples. This concert or whatever it was. And I'm shocked that the government would allow concerts go on during the
pandemic,
yes. I'm surprised that would happen. Even though the ones that are involved in the cancelled. Lagos State government needs to step up its enforcement act. The image that we have is that we have no controls, we have no government. And it's very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate.
Right. Someone partially agreed with you, Olutoyin, on Facebook. He says, it's not Elumelu that should be called upon, but the government of Nigeria. What have they done?
Well, we know the government we have. I mean, so I don't like weeping a dead horse. We know the government we have. We know the reaction we'll get. They'll send some internet, whatever, dumb heads, after you and so on and so forth. Everything you tell them, you become their enemy. But we need to save ourselves. You can't say because your government is not up and doing, you sit down and start dying one by one. We must find a solution. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, Funshaw is saying that most people couldn't be bothered about COVID and its variants anymore.
Well, it's all good luck to them. For those who have caught this, they know what they went through.
That's right.
And listen. Let me quickly tell you something that I will never get tired of saying. That you are vaccinated doesn't mean you would not contract COVID. What it means is that it will manifest in a milder form.
That's right.
That is one. Two, apart from underlying sicknesses, what has been discovered is that some people already have a sickness. We are not talking of the underlying conditions now. Some people have a sickness that is on its way and joined by COVID. And so people now ask the question, did the person die of COVID or with COVID? Let me give you an example. Supposing you don't have underlying conditions, but you have malaria, and you have typhoid, which most of us usually have. Imagine combining that with COVID, and you ask yourself, where are you going to end up?
That's double barrel.
That's a double barrel thing. I think I'll have to call Dr. Ayeni at 9 o'clock to talk to him for another 15 minutes. Let's see if we can step this up.
Let's go back to the Punch, page 18 of the Punch. Lagos issues demand notices to expired planning permit holders.
Yes, I'm glad that the ministry is becoming proactive, but I hope it's not proactive on the papers. The Commissioner for Physical Planning and, all these falling buildings and so on, called under is whatever, said that provisional planning permits issued by Lagos State pending the procurement of registered title from Land Bureau had expired and it was valid for only 18 months, and that all expired planning permits are no longer valid and should be deemed illegal. And he adds, regardless of the status of the construction level of the building involved. Let me repeat again, that all expired planning permits were no longer valid and should be deemed illegal, regardless of the status of the construction level of the building involved. And he says, so far, the Lagos State government has made public the list of over 500 expired provisional planning permits and has promised a more updated version in a soon-to-be published updated. I hope that the ministry is going to up its ante. There are some fragile-looking buildings you have in Ikoyi and VI environs. I'm not a building expert, but some of them look. There's one after Esther Ajayi's church at the end of the road. Before you turn into the road that leads to Lekki, there's one at the corner piece. I think it's like a 14-story building. Every time I drive past that place, I quickly put my feet on the accelerator to drive past very quickly. The building looks so fragile. I saw one or two again in Ikoyi from where I was. It looked a bit cluttered. And so I think that the physical planning, they need to go on a one-by-one inspection of some of these buildings. One-by-one inspection. Now, I'm not a building expert, so don't, you can discard what I said. But something triggered off in my mind that I'd like the authorities to take a second look at some of the high-rise buildings that are coming up. But that's the story again for another day. That's part of what we have to face.
Let's take this story as our last story. Police arrest 4 suspects, impound 21 cars over Abuja illegal car races.
Now tell me the son of first of all, these are young people. Tell me the son of a poor man who will be racing his father's
Jalopy.
a 15-year-old jalopy. These are rich kids. Why don't you tell us who they are? Most of them are sons of public officers whose fathers cannot even account for the vehicles they found with these boys. So the police should go a step further and tell us who are the people that you arrested over this car racing, whatever. And then what are you going to do with the cars? Are you going to return it to them? We need a more, rather than have this PR, what I would call a PR story, we need a more robust report. And this is where I challenge my colleagues in the media. Go to the police and tell them to give you the names of these 21, the owners of these cars, and those arrested. You'll be amazed. There'll be sons of ministers, we see them in the social media.
Is it possible to find out the names of owners of vehicles through the registration number?
It is very easy. It's very easy. There was a time it was made public. I don't know if that still persists. But a journalist who wants to do that can copy down the numbers and approach the even if it's with a formal letter, Freedom of Information Act. I want to know the owners of these cars. How come the Punch has this story? We don't have the photograph of the cars because these are not ordinary.
I saw in another paper they had photographs about 2 of the cars.
What brand were they?
They were expensive.
One
No, they were expensive. I think I saw one BMW and maybe a Bugatti somewhere.
A Bugatti.
And they said they even coined their own headline very well. They said rich kids.
Rich kids. Yeah. If you go to the social media, you don't need to go far.
Yeah.
We've seen these races, whatever. These kids are completely irresponsible. You need to see the way they play around with money. You need to see the way. And some of us sit back, we're in hunger, we're whatever, and we do absolutely nothing. Please, non-violent resistance is allowed. Non-violent reactions are allowed. Do not let some people send us to the cleaners. Your complacency today could lead to your death tomorrow. And on that note,
that's our show this morning. On that note, compliment of season to everybody.
Compliment of season, and this is dedicated to the memory of Desmond Tutu. Those were men. Do we have any Desmond Tutu in Nigeria? Do we have a half Desmond Tutu in Nigeria you can think of? Let's even cut it by half. A quarter? A tenth? 1/100th? Okay, do you have anybody who is as much as a fingernail of Desmond Tutu here? You are talking of some of them, he's a pastor. Do you still can't think out? No, it's not all pastors that are owning banks. That's Sheriff, let me go.
Oh, you'll be back at 9.
I'll be back.
All right, then. We must go now.
Okay, let's go.
Lagos, thank you for joining us.
I'll see you at 9.
Yes.
Hello, this is a public service announcement.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.